It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Yes, we are back with the Real Estate Breakfast, covering the latest Australian housing market and now streaming on Spotify and Apple Podcasts from Cairns to Canberra and across all of those regional markets around the country. It is your daily briefing on Australian real estate with data, trends and insights. Easy to understand information and straight to your preferred listening platform. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our email address as always is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Well, hope your weekend was great. Hope you managed to find a property that you were super keen on. This week, I have had conversations with people believing that it is far better to wait for the market to adjust even further with the softer property prices that we are seeing. Of course, that is human nature to try and pay less, especially given the long sustained period of price growth that we have had right around the country for real estate over a number of years now. But it is about the timing, right? When you are comfortable, that is the time to buy. Don't let anybody talk you into buying a property if it is not the right timing. There are, unfortunately, some, not all, there are a handful of real estate agents out there who have that aggressive selling instinct to say to you every day that you are not in the property market, it is going to cost you more. Don't listen to that. Just take your time. Don't flinch if the timing isn't right, and just put that pressure well behind you. Just do it all in your time. Let's go to Canberra. We are catching up with Tim McInnes. He is from Timothy Road Real Estate. It is all about that timing, isn't it? Coming back to that point, when people are ready, not when a real estate agent says you got to buy now.
Look, I think absolutely. At the end of the day, we're here to help buyers get into the market. We're here to support them through their journey. I think when buyers are confident and don't feel pushed, that's when they make their best decisions. So I think ultimately it's about creating, as an agent, a comfortable environment for them to be able to make those important decisions.
Yeah, dead right. Now, let's focus this morning on Canberra, because Canberra buyers, they seem to be making decisions earlier. Now, by that, I mean instead of waiting for auction day, many are putting forward offers before the auction even begins. Now, sellers, they're liking that because of the certainty, and the buyers, there's something in it for them because they're avoiding the pressure of bidding. So are pre-auction offers becoming more commonplace at the moment in your market?
I think they definitely are. If you look at the clearance rates, the ones that are selling are generally selling pre-auction. It's a combination of, as you said, the first-time buyers don't necessarily want to wait around for 4 weeks to understand if they're going to buy the property. When they're looking at other properties as well, they're wanting to give their offer, put their best foot forward and see if that's something which the owners are agreeable to. If they are, great. Otherwise, they might move on to the next one. So as a seller, you've got to make that decision as well. Is it the bird in the hand, or do you try your luck at auction? But I think ultimately more and more buyers and sellers are meeting with agreement prior to auction.
Yeah, first home buyers, also downsizers and growing families, they're all competing at the moment for these quality homes in Canberra. Is buyer diversity then keeping Canberra's market steady at the moment?
I think it is. Canberra's always been fairly stable. We have a strong average income. Yeah, it's a multicultural city. You've got lots of diversity in terms of, first home buyers as well as families. So we tend to have a broad church here with respect to who's buying properties. Yeah, that definitely, that definitely makes an impact in terms of competition and things like that.
Property is all about confidence. Probably fair to say it is mixed, but demand hasn't vanished, especially around those quality properties. We're always talking, a good quality property probably is always likely to sell. Are we seeing then in Canberra right now a market that's becoming far more, I suggest, selective on property buying rather than significantly weaker, a softer market?
Look, there's definitely, like everywhere in Australia at the moment, there's been an impact with recent changes and, there's a little bit of less confidence with both buyers and sellers, buyers wanting to make sure they're buying at the right time and sellers deciding what they're going to do as well. So there's a little bit of uncertainty at the minute. Life is still there to be lived and people are making moves because they're upside, their family's growing, they're wanting a bigger place, they're moving interstate and all those things. So there's always still factors outside of confidence that makes people need to buy and sell. But ultimately, look, there is a little bit of tightness there with respect to that. There's still definitely transactions happening and that's basically where we're at.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sign of the times, isn't it? Resilience, given that everything that we are seeing, we're feeling it especially when it comes to at the petrol bowser, food prices, cost of living is just insane over the last 18 months. This war, it's not probably likely to end anytime soon. There's no magic bullet, but transactions. People are still transacting. People are still getting on with their life, which is pretty important. Now, just how much of a winning aspect then is the location of Canberra in this market phase? Because buyers, or is this my imagination, are still placing a premium on Canberra because of the convenience and lifestyle. What do you think?
Honestly, hand on heart, it's just a wonderful place to grow a family, to live. And you have like Australia's best airport here as well. But ultimately, I just think the livability of the city is just extraordinary. The lakes, the change of seasons, the quality of housing. There is, I think, a magic when you move into Canberra. It's very much like you're sitting back in your chair and you can breathe. There is a sense of time and space that you have here that you don't get elsewhere. I think, people put a premium on that, along with obviously there's great job security and things like that. So a combination of things, but ultimately, for me personally, I think the livability of this city is just the restaurants. It's a great place to be.
How long then have you been in the Canberra market? I should point out that you run your own real estate company. And what have been some of the challenges for this year running your real estate there? Because everybody faces different sort of challenging moments.
Well, look, I think things that I enjoy about, in terms of challenges in terms of real estate, I think ultimately any job there's challenges in running a company. But ultimately, I think if you love what you do and, you understand that, with any sort of impacts in the Canberra market, they're generally, short term. You just have to, work through it and, work hard and it all comes out okay in the end. But it's a wonderful place for us. It's been an absolute treasure living in Canberra and being supported by the community, the wonderful people that we meet every day, the great goodwill that they have with us as well. I just couldn't be happier to be working here.
And how long have you been in the market?
So I've been selling for 21 years, which is a long time. It doesn't seem like a long ago that I was a PA for someone for the first 2 years. And then I was lucky enough to then go out by myself and then become a co-director at another company. And then we've run Timothy Road for about 4 years now. My father was a real estate agent too for 10 or 15 years. So I've been in it for a long, long time, in and around. I remember handing sandwiches to my dad during lunch breaks, during his open houses and things like that when I was a little kid, and doing letterbox drops for him. So it's sort of always been in my blood, I guess. It's a great industry and I'm fortunate to be in it.
I can hear the enthusiasm there, Tim, which is great to hear. We're back after this.
Stay ahead of the competition with the latest news, insights and data analysis on the Property Podcast that keeps you informed. Remember to follow us on any of the podcast platforms so you never miss a real estate podcast. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify and Amazon. We are just as addicted to property as you are. The Real Estate Podcast.
Right, let's have a look at a breakdown here between Canberra and Adelaide for median prices. Let's have a look in Canberra. The median house price at the moment is just over $1,035,000. Median unit price in Canberra, $597K. Annual house growth, 3.5% growth. Annual unit growth, 0.7%. Gross rental yields in Canberra on houses approximately 3.5%. Units around 4.7%. In the Adelaide property market, median house price in Adelaide, $995K. Median unit price, $605,000. Annual house growth, 8.4% on those houses in Adelaide. And look at the rental market in Adelaide. Annual unit growth, 11.3%. Rental yields in Adelaide, house 3.3%, units 5.3%. And just a quick look at the median days on market in Adelaide, houses 21 days and units 27 days. Tim is here in Canberra. Yeah, not every property, Tim, is flying out the door. Some homeowners are selling before auction, while others are passing in and moving to private negotiation. Pricing accurately in this market, it's very, very big. If you get that wrong, your property can just sit on the fence for months with no sale. It's a big factor, isn't it, in today's market?
It definitely is. That there's a saying that you should never do in real estate, and that's promise people the world, then hand them an atlas, So it's definitely a case where I think you really need to make sure that you can demonstrate value and price to sellers. You need to ensure that, and that's generally, a combination when you have trust in a relationship and a reputation that does help. It is something that can be a factor, and it's not always the case.
What is the mindset, though, of people that you're talking to, the vendors, in terms of where we are right now with the softer conditions? Have you still got, a cohort of these vendors being stubborn and just not realising that the market has shifted? They've got to price adjust, otherwise properties just sit there.
It's funny because I just read an article today about a survey on people suggesting that they're okay with the property market going down because of, wanting to get first home buyers into the market and things like that. I can honestly, hand on heart, say I've never sat in front of someone and said they were super excited about the market dropping when they go to sell. So I think ultimately, you just have to be completely transparent with them. The things that we can control, we can't control necessarily what's going on with the government. We can't control what's happening internationally and globally. But what we can control as agencies, we can control the marketing, we can control the experience the buyers have when they walk through the open house to make sure that is positive, that impacts their decision process. We can control the way in which we communicate with the sellers and the buyers to make sure that they feel that they're being heard and that everything, whatever the outcome, you've basically left no stone left unturned. So I think as long as sellers feel like you have, as an agent, given it everything you've got, that you've communicated, that you've controlled the things that you can, then ultimately they're open to hearing, what the market has to say.
Yeah, it's interesting because post-COVID, we had houses literally selling by themselves. Very little marketing that was required around that period of time. Yes, the marketing was still happening, but fair to say, you've got to use the marketing arm now, real estate companies, far more intelligently and more aggressively than what was happening in that post-COVID era. Well, sounds like things are reasonably positive for you there, Tim, in Canberra, giving us a lay of the land.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
We don't just report on real estate news. We take you to the source of the information. We produce more property podcasts every week than anyone else. We are your trusted guide for all things real estate.
It seems like every year from 2024 on, we seem to be hit by some sort of crisis. Electricity shortages in 24, Trump and his tariffs in 2025, and then the Middle East war this year. And so every year there's been something that's just really knocked the stuffing out of growth and set us back in terms of that recovery.
Young people can't afford to buy something and even to move out and rent. If you're paying $500, $600 a week in rent, that makes it very, very difficult for you to save.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more value out in the regional areas. And when we look at the Sydney and the Melbourne versus some of the major regionals, we look at the affordability index and express as an index of how affordable it is for the local demographic to be buying that.
They're used to seeing properties that are valued at, say, 1.5 million selling for 3 to 6% above that over the last few years, and they're hanging on to that as something that's still achievable in the current market, and unfortunately it's not.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.